Hi there, welcome back. I'm Jenna Elsie, and today I'm going to be leading you through a flow that's going to help you loosen up your hamstrings. So before we begin, I want you to try and maybe grab some household items, or if you already have yoga props, that's amazing. Blocks in particular are very useful for modifying poses, and if you have a yoga strap, that's great. This is actually an old belt that I use. You can always use a tea towel or anything that's just going to help you get a little bit of extra length in the poses. So you can quickly pause this video now and grab anything that you need. Otherwise, we're going to get started. And we're going to start today's practice just taking a seated posture in any way that's comfortable for you. And just let your eyes soften and close, bringing some height into the spine. And just beginning to turn that awareness inwards as your focus falls onto your breath. Not necessarily changing our breath, but becoming aware of it. Just feeling that natural rhythm as we inhale in through the nose. And exhale through the nose. We're going to be utilizing our breath today along with our movements, as our breath is really going to help us work into the muscles and find that extra release and lengthen in the backs of the legs. Just taking 3 more breaths to allow yourself to recenter and reconnect. And just taking a nice big breath for that last one. Wonderful. So to start today's practice, we're going to come straight down onto our backs. And just laying down in the center of your mat, just let your feet and legs come together. And we're going to take our strap or tea towel, whatever item that you're using. We're going to start by bending the right leg in towards the body, and you're going to take your strap around the ball of the foot. So that's this nice fleshy padded part right here. And just allow yourself to relax and lay back and just lengthen that leg out and just get nice and comfortable to begin with. We want to keep our foot nice and flexed, both of them. And this is really going to help activate this stretch, as we don't want to just passively be pulling ourselves deeper into a pose. So just allowing your shoulders and your elbows to relax by your side. Take an inhale and lengthen the leg, just keeping a micro bend in the knee. And as you exhale, just pull that leg a little bit higher, keeping the foot parallel to the ceiling. You can close down your eyes here if you would like to. And just really visualize sending your breath, your inhale into the back of the leg. And as you exhale through the nose, see if you can maybe pull that leg up a little bit higher. Inhale, nourishing the muscle, really visualize sending the energy there. And exhale, feeling that release. You can adjust the position of your hands on the straps, maybe just pulling it a little bit further up as you get deeper into the pose. But just wherever you're at, just try to maintain that nice consistent breath. Inhaling to nourish the muscle, and exhaling to deepen. When you feel that resistance, or if you feel your legs starting to shake, this is the edge of your flexibility, and this is where you're going to stay. The more that you can focus on the breath here, the more you're going to be able to feel that release. If at any point you feel like you're in pain, then just come back out of the pose slowly, just releasing a little bit of that tension. Always entering the pose with care and mindfulness. Take one more big breath. Inhale into the back of the leg. And exhale through the nose, nice and slowly. Wonderful. Keeping a nice, secure grip on your strap. With your next inhale, we're going to lift the upper body. And as you exhale, try to bring your knee towards your nose. They don't need a touch. This is just the direction of the energy that we want. Inhale, lengthen the spine and the leg. And as you exhale, seeing if you can deepen that posture. Connecting to the breath. Making this like a little meditation for yourself. Taking one more breath. Beautiful. You can very gently lower your upper body back down to the floor. From here, you can remove your strap and nice and slowly with your breath, just lowering that leg back down, seeing if you can go as slow as possible, just getting that slight core engagement. Once your foot touches the floor, you can relax the legs and maybe give them a little shake. And we're going to take one breath in between, like a little palate cleanser. Wonderful. Bring your feet together and flex both of them so that your toes are pointed to the ceiling. This time we're bringing in the left knee and we're taking the strap around the ball of the foot again. Making sure that's in position, getting nice and comfortable with the position of your hands. And just like before, we're going to visualize sending that inhale into the back of the legs. And as you exhale, begin to deepen the posture. So we want to keep a little bend in the knee. We don't want to completely lock it out, as this isn't going to help us get any deeper into the hamstrings, and it's going to do a little bit more damage than anything else. So try to keep just that little bend in the leg. Closing down your eyes if you'd like to, following the rhythm of your breath, and just making each pose like a little meditation for yourself. Really bring your awareness inwards and become conscious of the position of the body in this pose. Inhale to nourish the hamstrings, really sending the life force into the leg. And as you exhale, seeing if you can come a little bit further into the pose. Just finding that edge of your flexibility and listening to your body. If you feel the shaking of the muscle, that's okay. It just means that it's engaged and it's working. But if you do feel like you're getting into that realm of pain or too much discomfort, then just slowly back out of the pose and give yourself a little bit more release. The more you can focus on your breath here, the deeper into the muscle you will be able to get. Take one more big breath, inhaling in through the nose and exhaling through the nose. With your next inhale, we're going to lift the upper body. And exhaling as you bring your nose towards your knee. Staying for 3 breaths, just getting this general direction of energy. Your nose doesn't need to completely touch the knee. You just want to keep that nice length in the back and in the leg. One more time. Wonderful. Release your upper body back down to the mat. Removing the strap. Just placing it to the side for now. And with your exhale, slowly lowering the leg. As slow as you can possibly go. And when your foot touches the mat, just letting both of the legs relax. And give yourself a little shake. You can slide your feet in towards the body and bring your knees in towards your chest and give yourself a squeeze. And just beginning to rock backwards and forwards until you find the momentum to come up into a seated position. We're going to sit just with our legs stretched out in front of us. And again, we're going to be taking the strap here to modify the poses that we're going to enter now. So just like before, we're going to start by bringing the right knee in, but this time we're going to let it fall out to the right side. Try to get the sole of your foot into the inner thigh. And again, we want to have our toes flexed, or feet flexed in fact, with the toes pointed to the ceiling. Otherwise, we're just not getting any engagement in the legs. So making sure that we are engaging all of the muscle. So just like before, you're going to take your strap around the ball of the foot and sitting nice and tall. You're going to slightly rotate your upper body so that you're in line with your left leg. Getting that nice firm grip with the straps and just letting your shoulders and elbows relax down by your side. We're going to take an inhale and lengthen the spine. And as you exhale, you're pulling yourself forward, but keeping the shape in the spine, keeping yourself nice and long. Inhaling to lengthen. And exhaling, hinging at the hips and pulling yourself further forward. Really try to avoid curling your spine over and doing this, because this isn't getting into the hamstrings at all. This is just bending the spine. We want to keep ourselves lifted and engaged. Inhaling for length and exhaling to come deeper into the pose. Really try to connect to that breath. Inhale, sending the breath into the back of the legs. And exhaling to get deeper into the pose. If you have quite open hamstrings and you have no issues with taking a bind with the hands, you can just go ahead and take a grab of the foot. Inhaling again to lengthen. And exhaling to take yourself further into this posture. If you have really open hamstrings, you can always modify by taking a block and placing that at the base of your foot. And this will help you get an extra little bind with the hands so you can get deeper into the pose. Closing down your eyes and connecting to the breath. We're going to stay for 3. 2. And 1. Removing the block or the straps, you can just come back up nice and slowly, uncurling the spine. Bring that leg back in and extend it out and give yourself a little shake in the legs. So coming into the other side now, bring your left knee in, letting that leg fall out to the left side and bringing the sole of the foot to the inside of the right thigh now. If you're using the strap, you can go ahead and take it around the ball of the foot and begin to work your way in, just like we did on the left side. Otherwise, if you're not using the strap, you can go ahead and inhale and lengthen up through to the fingertips. Turning your body so you're in line with the leg, and exhaling as you bend into the pose. So remember, we're trying to keep the spine nice and tall, and we're trying to keep this movement in the hips. So we're hinging forward, we're not curling down, trying to get our nose towards the knee. You want to keep that nice length in the spine as you inhale. And exhale to deepen. So you can always just stay here if this is where you're feeling that resistance and the flexibility, just slowly working in until you can deepen that hinge. Otherwise, taking any modification that you know works for you, whether that be with the block or just taking a bind with the hands around the foot. Closing down the eyes, inhale to lengthen, and exhale to reach forward. So instead of trying to get your face towards your shin or get your knee to your nose, I really want you to try and visualize that you're sending your chest beyond the foot. So we're not trying to come down here, we're trying to extend towards the front of the room. Two more breaths. Wonderful. Taking the props out of the way. You can just come back up out of this pose nice and slowly. Extending that leg back out and give yourself a little shake. And we're going to cross the legs, placing our hands in front of us and coming into a tabletop position. Making sure your wrists are underneath your shoulders and knees underneath the hips. We're just going to do a few rounds of cat-cows just to bring a little bit of release into the back. So as you inhale, we're going to untuck the tailbone, dropping the belly in the chest, lifting the gaze. Exhale, push through the arms, release the neck. Inhale to come down into cow. And exhale for cat. Bring yourself back to a neutral spine. We're going to tuck the toes now. Take a big inhale in through the nose. And as you exhale, we're sending the hips upwards and backwards and coming into downward dog. So give yourself a nice generous bend in the knees to start with. And as you exhale, sending your chest down and your head in between the upper arms. As we connect to the breath, we're going to very slowly push one heel towards the floor at a time. Kind of like when you see a cat doing its little massage motion with its paws. Just very gently pushing the heels down, activating that stretch in the hamstrings. So this is just a nice way to get a little bit more control into how much pressure you're putting into the muscle. Connect to the breath as you move. Your heels don't need to be completely on the floor for downward dog. Just as long as you're pushing towards the floor, this is going to help activate the hamstrings. Wonderful. Looking up towards your hands now, we're just going to take our right foot and send it towards our right hand, planting the foot down. And we're just going to drop the left knee down, coming into a low lunge. Making sure your knees over the ankles, getting nice and comfortable in this position. From here, we're going to take an inhale and lift up the arms. And as you exhale, deepen that lunge. You can keep your hands down in prayer mode if you'd like, or just keeping the arms uplifted just to get that little extra open in the shoulders. Again, just slowly and very gently pushing into the lunge, connecting to the breath. If it feels too intense, you can just shorten the distance between your feet. Just finding where you can sit comfortably in the pose, but also feel like you're challenging yourself a little bit. Staying here for 2 more breaths. If you feel yourself getting gradually deeper into the pose, you can just shuffle the position of your foot so that we keep this nice bone stacking structure in the leg. Beautiful. Bringing our hands down to the floor now. We're going to extend this right leg coming back into a half split. If you do have the yoga blocks or a book, this is where they're really going to come in handy for giving ourselves some length in the spine. So keep your toes pointed towards the ceiling. You can come up onto quite a high setting on these blocks if you have quite tight hamstrings. And just like we did before, as we inhale, we're lengthening the spine and exhaling, hinging from the hips. So we're not curling over, really trying to keep this nice length in the back and in the legs. You can adjust the height of the blocks as you get deeper into the pose, or just staying here where you're feeling that resistance in the legs now. Inhale, lengthen through to the crown of the head. And as you exhale, seeing if you can find that softness in the hips as we extend forward. Staying where you feel that resistance in the legs. Otherwise, if you're not using the blocks, you can always just come up onto the fingertips. And this will help you get a little bit of extra length instead of keeping your hands flat to the floor. So wherever you're at, we're staying for 3 breaths now. You can hold the pose, or what I usually like to do is keep that little wave motion going as I inhale to lengthen, exhale to lower. Inhale for length, and exhale to soften down. One more breath. Beautiful. We're going to shift back into the right leg now, coming into our low lunge. You can just take the blocks to the side for now, place your hands down, and you can just nice and gently take that leg back. Taking one more round of cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly in the chest, lift the gaze. And exhale, push the floor away. As you inhale, tuck your toes. And exhale, send yourself back to another downward dog. We're just going to hold again for a few breaths, so you can hold the pose or do that little walking motion with the heels like we did before. Take one more breath. Looking up towards our hands, we're going to take our left foot and place it towards the top of the mat. Exhale as your right knee comes down now. Getting yourself nice and stable in your lunge, we're going to take an inhale, scooping up the arms, and exhaling to deepen the lunge. You can bring your hands down by your side if you prefer. Connecting to that breath. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale into the lunge. If you find that your knee that's on the floor is a little bit tender, you can always fold the corner of your mat over, and this will give you a little bit more cushion for the kneecap. Or more than likely, if you're doing this at home, you can always grab a cushion or a pillow and use that as a little bit of a comfort pad. Staying for 2 more breaths now. Just feeling that resistance, but not pushing too far in our flexibility. As we come back into the half split, you can grab your blocks with your hands and just walk yourself backwards, extending the left leg and pointing the toes to the ceiling. And bring your hands underneath your shoulders and begin to inhale and lengthen. And as you exhale, hinging at the hips. So maybe you just want to stay here if you're already feeling that tension in the back of the leg, and this is where you're going to stay and really connect to the breath. Otherwise, if you can feel yourself getting deeper into the pose with each exhale, you can adjust the height of the blocks, coming a little bit further down. And if you feel comfortable, you can just take the blocks away and maybe come up onto the fingertips instead. Wherever you are at, just make sure you're listening to your body and you're not pushing yourself further than feels comfortable. Inhale, lengthen through to the crown of the head. And exhale, hinge at the hips. Keep the back lifted. Staying for 3 more breaths. Last one. Inhale, send that breath into the back of the leg. And exhale, soften down. Beautiful, just shifting back into the left leg. You can take the blocks to the side. And like before, we're just going to slide the foot all the way back, coming back to a tabletop position. 1 more round of cat-cows to release the back. Inhale, drop the belly in the chest, lift the gaze. And exhale, pushing the floor away. Use your next breath to transition back to downward dog. Exhaling as you come back. We're going to stay in the downward dog for 3 breaths, either holding the pose or doing the little walking motion with the feet. Just beginning to move the body in any way that you know works for you. Wonderful. Looking up towards our hands now, we're going to begin to take some little baby steps towards the front. And just stopping anywhere on the mat where you can come back into a standing forward fold now. So instead of locking the knees and curling the spine, we're going to bend the knees nice and generously. Inhale, lengthen your spine and drop your belly onto the thighs. You can grab your opposing upper arms here, completely releasing the back, letting your head hang heavy. And as you exhale, just begin to lengthen the legs out, nice and slowly. You can shift your weight into the balls of the feet so that you lean forward a little bit more. And from here, you can just let yourself hang like a rag doll, maybe gently swaying from left to right. If this isn't comfortable for you, you can take your blocks and just like before, using them to get that extra height in the spine. So if this is more comfortable for you, you can stay here, keeping the length in the back and in the back of the legs. Beginning to work your way slowly and further down into the pose. So you can stay in that ragdoll modification if you'd like. Otherwise, if you're happy to go for a bind, there's a few different variations you can do. You can bring your hands either to the back of the ankles or the calves and use this as a bit of a bind to bring yourself further into the pose. Or one of my favorite ones is to bring the peace fingers around the big toes. And you want to push your toes down onto the fingers and you want to pull with your fingers at the same time. So you're creating this nice pressure point to get deeper into this posture. So take that inhale and lengthen. And as you exhale, deepen the pose. Nice and gently. Inhaling for length. And exhale, softening into the pose. Staying for 3 breaths wherever you are. You can always just come back to that ragdoll variation if this feels more comfortable for you in this moment. This whole process is about finding what works for you and what works for your body. We'll take one more breath here. Beautiful. Taking anything out the way of your mat. From here, we're just going to bend all the way down and just find a nice, easy transition back into a seated posture with your legs out in front of you. We're going to come into one final full variation of a seated fold now. So if you have any cushions or if you want to sit on the block, this can actually help you get a little bit deeper into the pose. So sitting on the block is going to allow our pelvis to essentially stick out like what I call as a duck butt, so that your spine is naturally going to go in the direction that we want. Otherwise, if you find that you're sitting a little bit more with a curved spine, then we're already kind of in the wrong direction for getting into a fold. So sitting nice and tall and rolling your pelvis forward so that you've got this little curve in the lower back. If you're taking the straps, you're going to bring your feet together with the toes pointed to the ceiling and bring the strap around the balls of both of the feet and finding that comfortable bind with the hands. Otherwise, if you're not using the strap, you're going to inhale, lifting up the arms. And as you exhale, begin to work your way into the pose. Either using the straps or maybe just bringing your hands to the legs, keeping length in the spine. Inhale, lengthen through to the top of the head. And as you exhale, hinging at the hips, sending the chest towards the feet. Just like before, you can take a bind with the fingers around the toes, maybe bringing the hands around the side of the feet. Otherwise, if you are using the strap, just slowly bringing yourself further in. Wherever you are at now, we're going to stay for 3 more breaths, closing down the eyes, just really bringing our awareness inwards. One more breath. As you come back out of the pose, you can just let your arms relax, uncurling nice and slowly. Place your hands on the floor and shift your hips down the mat, lengthening your legs out and just coming all the way down onto your back and taking Shavasana. So you are more than welcome to end your practice here. Otherwise, just allowing yourself to sink deeper into this state of stillness. Relaxing the muscles, relaxing the face, allowing the eyelids to soften. Following the rhythm of your breath as it guides you into a deeper state of Shavasana. You can just begin to make some small movements in the fingers and the toes. Lifting the arms up above the head and take a nice full body stretch. And nice and slowly and mindfully pushing yourself back up to a seated position. Bringing the hands to the heart center. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And a big exhale through the mouth. One more time. Big inhale. Audible exhale. The light within me acknowledges the light within you. Thank you for following my video today. Namaste. I really hope you enjoyed this gentle hamstring opening session, and I hope to see you again next time.